ਸਤ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਜੀ Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules and thank you for bestowing me this opportunity to perform seva. I want to thank the administration for helping and guiding me as I go on this path and for whatever I do, say or act, may it simply be in the Divine's will. Sangat ji, during this time, please keep your mind focused on your mantra, whatever shape or form that may be. Today, Sangat ji, we will contemplate bonds, the bonds we create, the bonds that may liberate, the bonds that keep us in the play, how this ultimately affects us, and in the end, what's the real bond left to be had? So, Sangat ji, what do we mean by bonds? In layman terms, a bond is a connection to one another. The process of nurturing a connection which effectively builds an emotional attachment to the individual we are creating a bond with, be it friends, family, partners, or any other type of relation. In this attachment, we create a profound emotional connection. In having this bond, our emotional state is naturally affected and perhaps dictated depending on the situational fluctuation of this relation, which equally may provide an emotional reaction based on our state of mind. Our reactions to even having these bonds can equally bring positive and negative emotions deep within. For example, you have a partner you love and adore, and yet you're constantly bickering. You have a father you care for, who's constantly ill and you worry for his health. You have a son you are there for, yet there's no appreciation from him. You have a sister you die for, yet you don't spend much quality time with them. You have a brother you despise, yet your parents will only see him and not you. And many, many more scenarios, many, many feelings varied from love, happiness, kindness, anxiety, frustration, sadness, anger, with so many emotions the human being experiences with these bonds. It ultimately creates a constant flux within our state of mind. With this, our state of mind molds itself in the way of our emotions are, and then reflected across to our bonds. Like a mirror, we receive and we project back the same energy directed to us. If someone is shouting at me, more than likely I will give a negative response back. Someone is giving me a hug out of compassion, more than likely I will give a positive response back. As such, the mind is simply reacting to the state of others, the state of the bonds we create. In such, if there is even a modicum of peace, the eventuality is that this will go based on the reactions and state of mind we are in. The scriptures tell us, Bandhan Mat Pita Sat Banta, mother, father, children, and spouse, all place the mortal in bondage. As a person, a human being, it is absolutely natural to create a bond with someone in this world. As soon as someone is born and as they are raised, they create bonds with their parents and associated family. As people grow, they seek others outside, may create their own families, or just want to live life with others. This is a natural part of human existence. But understand where this comes from. We search for a bond out of our innate desire to have something, whether it be out of loneliness, possession, a game, social clubs, whatever the reason, there is a desire to create that bond or relation. In doing so, we then generate and create our karma with that individual for as long as that may be. Once the emotional attachment is built from the gift of worldly relations bestowed by the divine according to our karmic destiny, our train of thoughts are then geared towards the continued desire to keep the relation we have and not let go. In this bond, we receive a sense of happiness, joy, contentment that also turns into a source of pain, anger, frustration, never giving us the permanence of peace one may seek out for. In this, we fall into a never-ending bondage of a desire to have a worldly bond. In this, the search for peace never ends. In this, we keep creating more karmic debt. In this, we create our attachments. In this, we fall prey to the attraction of Maya. It more for Juni by. In this attachment, people are reincarnated over and over again. Now, naturally, we seek these worldly bonds out of peace and happiness. But if we take a deeper lens in the aspects of worldly relations, how much happiness and peace do they actually truly provide? For example, loving or happy relations with family, friends, partners, or relatives. Each one provides a different social element that, as a human, we may feel the desire to want that exclusively for ourselves, due to a variety of reasons where we are unfulfilled without them. An extrovert who has a big social circle, an introvert who speaks to a few close to them, individuals that they have a big family they see regularly, or an individual that has no one except for their partner, kids, or parents, and each type of relation is woven into your life. All of them share their laughs, dreams, problems, anxieties, traumas, and anything else. And these relations are integrated into our lifestyles. But over time, this changes. Your relations with each other separates. Death, fallouts, backbiting, betrayal, moving on without you. They're not interested with you anymore. They're not including you. It's just not the same feeling anymore. What was once a bundle of joy and laughter and love has now turned to pain, sorrow, loneliness, and whatever else that may come from these fluctuating scenarios. In this feeling, we cause ourselves trauma, and in doing so, bondage in our own bonds. In this emotional attachment, any pain we feel is due to the perception of ownership. In ownership, we consider these temporary bonds, relations to be ours, mine, my wife, my husband, my partner, my children, my parents, my friends, my siblings, my social circle, mine, which in return causes great pain and suffering to any form of a negative fluctuation or even separation, and even bonds which are then broken. This feeling of ownership derives from the fact that once we have received the gift of relations, it is under the perceived precedence that it is ours to keep, to do as we see fit. In this, we are attached to the worldly bond that we perceive to be with us forever. However, we must understand one aspect is that all of this is temporary. The worldly bonds we make and our physical self will go, whether it be before or on our deathbed. Not a single one of these worldly bonds will go with us in the end. And yet, this deep-rooted belief that they are ours keeps us attached to the temporary bonds in place, which may one day be there and in the next day disappear. With this, the mind stays in a constant state of upheaval of positive and negative mind frames. With this attachment, our mind wanders in many directions, fueled by the emotional chaos of our making. With this, we stay attached to the grand illusion, the temporary bonds, and not to the timeless divine. In this, we forget our teachings, our scriptures, our meditation, for our innate peace is consistently rocked by the worldly bonds we believe that bring us peace. In this, we become trapped in our own created turmoil. In this, we stay trapped in the forever cycle of birth and death. Shutas nahi ob beale, obeape maya jale. You cannot escape to the heavens or to the nether regions if you are entangled in emotional attachment and the net of Maya. In that end, Sangati, if everything including ourselves is impermanent, then what is the true permanence of peace and happiness? A true master or true spiritualist is someone who is not attached to the temporary bonds, but holds the bond with the creator of bonds. They do not suffer these comings and goings, the ups and downs of emotionals, for they have complete love and trust for the divine. For in this trust builds the bond that the divine will sustain them, nurture them, be with them, be beside them through all sorts of manners, regardless of where they are. Their minds are not fixated on creating a worldly bond or on any sort of worldly bond, but rather on the divine, for they are aware of what these worldly bonds will lead to. In this, they are lovingly attached to the divine, being in complete bliss. In this, they are free from bondage and free from creating more karmic debt from those worldly bonds. A saint named Sant Baba Jaswant Singh Ji, a pious soul, lived his whole life in the service of humanity. For those who knew Babaji, he was the epitome of divine values and what they truly meant. Babaji showed much compassion and love to others, and many wanted to learn from him or spend time with him. Babaji would always give them love, irrespective of the relation or whether he barely knew you. He would always shower you with it, even when Babaji's health was extremely poor, constricted to a wheelchair, could barely speak because of his throat cancer, he would still give his love. Yet many of those people who received that love eventually left, walked away from Babaji after he gave so much, and yet he still showed love after and carried on giving his love to many, many more. But the bonds that Babaji had were not with these people, but with the divine. For Babaji knew, understood, and lived the message of what true permanence meant, not with the worldly bonds, but with the divine. When someone turns their back on you, it's very easy to become bitter, angry, sad, lonely, frustrated. Yet Babaji just had love. Why? Because spirituality, the path to the divine, is a path of love, a game of love. This love, this devotion is built deep within us and projected outwards only through the repeated actions of Sangat, meditation, and Seva, and all in tandem with each other, just as Babaji lived. It is only in that love that will build the connection to the divine and not to duality. By sitting in that light-minded Sangat, performing those selfless deeds, and meditating on the mantra, will reinforce that love, that compassion within, and in doing so move away from our worldly attachments, worldly bonds to being attached, bonded to the divine. Now, when we say love Sangatji, this love is born out of purity, one that has no sense of ownership and no sense of emotional turmoil from their worldly surroundings, as the dependency comes from not that of Maya, but from the divine. This dependency is built on trust and love, that their security and welfare lies with the divine. Unlike the worldly bonds that come and go, the divine is ever present within and around us all. In this realization, we see the divine in those around us, the divine within us. In each action, each word, each thought is the divine, that the divine is always with you. Those that experience this realization no longer succumb to the whirlwinds of broken bonds. For when we see only the divine, what more can be felt but love for everything and everyone around us? In this, we discover the true bonds and liberation from ourselves within. Sadh sang sane satyan sokyan basant nanak. Only loving attachment to the Sadh Sangat, the company of the holy, is true. Nanak dwells there in peace. However, let's be clear of one aspect. When we talk about the nature of bonds and their effects to our peace and the true bond of permanence, this does not mean in any shape or form that we abandon any of our worldly responsibilities that may have been created from those bonds and isolate ourselves off from the world, like sitting in a cave and meditating. You have to live in this world. You have to sit in the Sangat, in a like-minded community, earn an honest living, be responsible for what we have started and the actions that follow. Be present in the society, but not attached to the society. Perform divine values, focus on your mantras, and enjoy your life. The gift of relations, companionship, bonds brought by the divine are there to be enjoyed, whether it be family, friends, partnerships. In a community involves people, but be aware of the bonds we make and what it may lead to, which ultimately affect our innate peace and state of mind. And ultimately, don't lose yourself in the process and be caught in a myriad of pain and suffering. For this, all of this, is a temporary setting. Like someone going on a vacation for a few days or a week, staying at a hotel. The guest is there for a set period of time where they'll enjoy the many aspects their vacation has to offer. Eventually, it comes time to check out of the hotel and they're ready to move on with their journey. And they're happy about the good times they have experienced, but now already looking ahead. Similarly, in spirituality, the human life is so short, it passes in a blink of an eye. And if we're simply moving from worldly bond in search of another bond and stuck in this ever fluctuating mindset, then the reality is that we haven't really digested any teachings bestowed to us. So, in consideration of our bondage created by ourselves in desire for a worldly bond or relation, the very actions and principles that the pious souls, true masters like Sant Baba Jaswant Singh Ji lived, are the same actions and principles we also have to embody. How do we do this? Sangat, a pious community, Seva, selfless service, Simran, meditation. Only in these actions can we hope to break our bondage and move with the blessing to liberation. In Sangat, a like-minded community, we learn, we grow, we interact with each other, but a community of pious souls, not some random community. These souls that will take you to the divine, not further away. The Sat Sangat, the company of the holy. Understand that the company we sit with will mold us, change us, for this effectively is your environment. Any company bonds that we keep will effectively have an impact and influence on our own innate nature. Therefore, it's imperative to be aware of the bonds we keep, for the wrong company will take you miles away, and equally the right company can take you miles ahead. But most importantly, Sangatji, is that whoever we sit with is also temporary. So, in the spirit of true bonds, we all have to move on. For the purpose of Sangat is to help aid in our connection to the divine and not emotionally attach ourselves to the many people around us, but to the Shabbat. For the people fade, but the Shabbat is eternal. Take advantage of every second of what the Sangat has to offer, for these opportunities are scarcely provided. And accept the outcome for when it's time to move on. Baisab once told me, people will come and people will go. Those who wish to stay will stay, but to those who wish to go, do not hold on to them. Let them go and show them the same love for when they first arrived. Our desires stem from what we want, innate desires, and naturally this tends to be for ourselves. But to move away from the worldly desires, from the worldly bonds, and to the divine, we perform seva, a selfless deed with no inkling of expectation of anything in return for your actions. In this action, we serve out of pure love for one another. It is an opportunity to remove the layers of ego, an opportunity to develop the cradle of love within, to become detached from Maya and attached to the divine, to help uncondition ourselves from our ingrained habits to that of divine values. In Seva, we have to be steadfast in our devotion and equally vigilant with our thoughts. For when doing selfless service, there will be times where a negative situation may happen, which may cause trouble to our state of mind, taking us away from the very purpose of the actions we are doing. In this, our state of mind, to help guide the train of thought away from the negative emotions, is effectively our mantra. In meditation, it is effectively our vehicle to finding the divine inside. For only going inside will we remain centered in the whirlwind of chaos. For only through meditation will we discover this realization and build our true bond within. Equally, if our train of mind is geared to our personal desires, then only by training the mind to be aware and focused on the mantra can it move away from our worldly desires of bonds and stop creating our karmic debt. In realization, we will not only see the divine within, but also outside. For when everything is the divine, then everything we receive around us is from the divine. For the divine is always with us when we eat, sleep, drink, work, sitting in Sangat, doing the seva, traveling. At any given moment, we are with the divine. But even with meditating, Maya will literally use every construct around you to move you away from the divine, whether it be an illusion, riddhi siddhi, spiritual prowess. Every moment is simply a distraction. So be aware of your thoughts and go inside, deep inside, and connect to the Shabbat, connect to the divine. The company of the holy, selfless service, meditation, all to be digested as a daily diet. And at the same time, aware of our thoughts and connected to the Shabbat. Babaji would always say, beware of your thoughts. Absolutely beware, because at any given moment, once a Maya driven thought is planted, simply a single thought just has to come into the mind and it may take off like a rocket. So be aware and be vigilant. And if you ever need guidance, then seek a true spiritual master, as they will guide you in the way you require it. And ultimately, Sangatji, we have to be mindful that in the end, our accumulated deeds is what will help us. So if the bonds we make are centered around negative aspects, involve slandering, gossiping, and other bad habits in comparison to divine values, and that is something we will also take with us as well. If you're sitting in the Sangat and doing whatever prayer you're doing in one direction, Wahguru, 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 and then later you're with your friends and loved ones and you're cursing and you're cussing and you're doing all sorts of things, then ask yourself, what exactly are we doing? With the bonds we have with us, are we actually getting anything from it? Are we just genuinely wasting our time? What exactly are we achieving? Or are we actually making a conscious effort to digest these teachings? So to wrap up Sangatji, our emotional attachment to the bonds we create may cause our bondage, and equally liberation depending if we are chasing a worldly or spiritual bond. Equally, the bond we create will either accumulate or stop karmic debt. Similarly, with what little time we have on this earth, the impermanence of these bonds won't save us in the end, for only the permanence of the true bond will help liberate us from this play. And to find this true bond, we have to digest and perform the divine values to be worthy of those divine blessings. Remember, there's nothing wrong with any sort of worldly bond, given that there's a balance in your life to cater for accumulating good deeds, and that you're able to progress spiritually and not impede it or your journey. Because the reality is, regardless of the amount of worldly bonds you have, whatever you do with them, in whatever shape or form or manner, whether it be your friends, family, partners, spiritual masters, your Sangat, not a single one of them will go with you. Ant bar nanak bin harji, kau kam na ayo. At the very last moment, O Nanak, no one is any use at all, except the dear Lord. Sangatji, it seems our journey has come to an end. Thank you all for listening, and I beg for your forgiveness for anything I've said. May God bless you all. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.